So one of the challenges that families are facing right now is an ability to be able to continue in worship together with their church family in a way that is still meaningful, is still honoring to God, but also bringing a community sense together about us gathering around screens now rather than in physical buildings. Pastors are trying to figure out if we're doing this digital worship thing well, and we don't know because they didn't train us for this. But what I can say is, as I've said before, control what you can control. And the dynamics of worship are going to be largely dictated by what we do in our homes. And I think in some sense it's been a little bit of truth serum for us as Christians as to the investment that we've made in our families with regards to worship. And it's also an opportunity for us to make a shift to do something a little bit different than we've done before. As I think about digital worship and where we're faced with right now, I want to encourage you through a familiar story from Genesis chapter 22. And I also want to challenge you in this particular passage. In Genesis chapter 22, this is where Abraham has been challenged by God to give up the son of the promise, to sacrifice Isaac. And Abraham operates in faith. He goes and he prepares to do what God has called him to do. But there's an interesting piece to this, and it relates to fathers, and I would go so far as to say parents, in our relationship with our kids in worship. As they're going up the mountain, Abraham and Isaac, they've got everything that they need to offer a sacrifice, but something is amiss for Isaac. As you look at this particular passage, in Genesis chapter 22, verse 7, Isaac said to his father Abraham, "My father," and he said, "Here I am, my son." He said, "Behold the fire, the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham said, "God will provide for himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son." So they went, both of them, together. Now here's the teaching for us as it relates to worship. Abraham had clearly imparted to his son what the necessary things were for worship. You see, as they go up the mountain, Isaac notices that there is something starkly missing. He notices that the sacrifice is not with them, which means that he had done this with his father before, that his father had led him in worship enough times to where he could see that there was something not right about the worship that they were going to offer. And so he had the opportunity to call his father on this and say, something's not right because we've done this before and this is different. And what Abraham says to his son is, God will provide what's missing. And they went up together. Friends, could I commend to you that this time of worship, in this season where we are worshiping God together digitally, while it's different, it doesn't have to be bad. And in fact, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us as fathers, as mothers, as parents, perhaps as grandparents or guardians, to lead our children in a way that says this is different. And perhaps maybe there's a bit of conviction that says, well, my kids don't recognize this because they haven't been with me in worship. They've been off in a children's ministry or a student ministry or something else. That's okay. Because now is an opportunity for you to guide them into worship, to be the worship leaders in your home, to guide them so that when they examine worship now, they can do it through a lens of you training them and equipping them and guiding them. As you get prepared for your digital worship services this Sunday, could I commend to you to start praying for your children now? Start preparing ways for them to be actively involved in the worship with you. Take some steps along the way to help guide them into an understanding of what it means to worship. Let them see you sing in your living room, even if they won't sing with you. Let them see you bow your head in prayer as pastors pray. not necessarily to get them to buy in, but to see you and the response that you have to worship. And may we do this in a movement to guide our young people into a deeper relationship with who God is as we worship and treasure Christ together.